My name is John, and today I'll be sharing some tricks on how to write an essay as a generic formula. These are the same tricks I used when helping students as a trainer instructor whenever they needed help on explaining material, splitting up topics in their papers, or, like most students, just to reach the page minimum. This lesson has a study guide that I would give students when I worked as a trainer instructor, and I'll be using a paper I have written before to demonstrate how it follows this format. Since this lesson also has the most information and sets up the most crucial basics of writing, this will probably be the longest lesson of this course. After this lesson, I'm hoping that you'll be able to see how this essay formula helps you create an intro that is quick and covers all the topics of your paper, be able to write body paragraphs that follow a single topic or idea, be able to see how the format of the body paragraphs can be used anywhere, and create a conclusion that reconnects all of your main points into one final message. Now, let me bring up the study guide and let's walk through it. First, whether it is an intro paragraph or an abstract, you want to have what most teachers would call the hook. This is simply you just getting your reader's attention. You can ask a question that relates to your topic, you can share a quick fun fact about your topic, tell a story, or propose a scenario in some sort of way. This part is important because without having the reader's attention, they're not going to want to read whatever it is you wrote. Imagine a friend wants to tell you a story about some crazy customer at work. If they just walked up to you and started talking about how person A went off on someone, you're going to be like, whoa, slow down and start over. But if your friend walks up to you and is like, yo, you're not going to believe what happened today, now they have your attention. You want to grab your reader's attention first and then tell your story. Now, you have the second part, which is the segue. This is how you transition from that initial hook to the topic that you're going to be talking about. This is a very generic step because you just need to find a connection, and usually the hook is already in some way related to the thesis or main idea of your paper. Another way to think of the segue is that it is the build-up to the main story. Keep in mind though, segues won't only be used in the introduction. You'll write segues between each main idea, quote, and analysis that you do in your papers. You want to keep your paper flowing with the end of one part being the beginning of the next. Think of a good album where the songs blend into one another. After you have written your segue, you're going to follow with a thesis, main idea, main point, just whatever you want to talk about. This last part of your introduction is you stating what your idea is. Connecting to the analogy of a friend telling you a story, their hook might be, yo, you're not going to believe what happened today. Their segue might be, so you know that one customer that is always coming in with expired coupons? And their thesis might be, well, after today, they are never coming back to our store. Now, after we have introduced our topics, we're going to get into the meat of the essay, the body paragraphs. This tends to be where people would have the most trouble of trying to tie in quotes, talk enough about the quote, and just going into detail about the connections. But here is where most of the magic of this essay formula comes in. First, each paragraph focuses on one idea or reason that is connected to your main idea. In the beginning of your body paragraphs, state the main idea that paragraph will be about. Then, you segue into your summary, quote, or paraphrase. This is the part that you'll be citing, or in other words, what you borrowed from another source. Once you have given your citation, you want to explain what it means. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, you just have to find another way to present the information that you are citing. Think of this like the in other words part. Once you have done that, you want to analyze the quote. In regards to what the citation is saying, what does that mean? Why is it important? How does it prove you right? Give your interpretation of the quote. Once you have done that, the last part of a body paragraph is that concluding sentence. In that concluding sentence, you want to state how what you just talked about proves you right or how it supports your main idea. The example in the study guide sums up the conclusion pretty well. Author A and author B both show main idea by saying that blank. The last point in the body paragraph section, which is on the study guide, is essentially saying rinse and repeat. If the papers require that you have a certain amount of quotes per paragraph, then you can repeat the points between intro and conclusion as many times as needed until you meet the requirement. And for the page minimum, you can repeat the body paragraph outline as many times as needed until you reach the amount you or your teacher are looking for. Once you have reached the page minimum that you are looking for or that your teacher is looking for, you then have your conclusion. Here, you are summarizing your paper into one paragraph. A good way to imagine this is that the first part of your conclusion is stating your thesis or main idea in a way that is less of something you're going to look into and something more as a statement. Then, you summarize each body paragraph into one sentence that highlights the main idea that supported your thesis. Once you have done those two parts, and this part is optional but it adds some flavor, the last thought or ending to the paper. Here it can be a quote that relates to your paper, a call to action saying that something needs to be done, or anything that leaves a "the end" sort of feeling in the reader. This last thought can actually be used to establish your own flavor as a writing style, because whenever you read something, it tends to be the ending that is best remembered. Now that we have gone over the generic concepts of the study guide, let's see it in practice in a paper. Throughout this paper, I highlighted using different colors to show how each sentence resembles a part of the study guide. In the intro paragraph, in red, I have highlighted the hook of this essay, making an introduction to the topic that I'll be talking about. In this case, I am addressing an assumption that some people would make about Victor Frankenstein, the scientist from The Legend of Frankenstein. In purple, I start to introduce my thesis by stating a correction to the common belief of Victor Frankenstein without directly stating what I'll be arguing for. And finally, in blue, I directly state what I'll be analyzing throughout the paper. In the first body paragraph, in red, I have highlighted my main idea. Although in this paper, I got a little creative and included a quote in the main idea. As you get more comfortable writing, you can start to improvise and add your own twists and turns. Because remember that this format is meant to be a generic blueprint to build on, not a set-in-stone process. In orange, I have the specific work cited that I will be using in the main focus of this paragraph. In yellow, I explain what the quote is saying. The green highlight is my analysis, and notice how I begin to explain the connections being made and start to move a little more away from directly talking about the quote and more about talking about the concept that I want to introduce. And in blue, I have my idea for that paragraph wrapped up. If you go through the paper example that I will have posted with this lesson, notice how I repeat this process until I meet the amount of pages that was requested specifically for this assignment. Then, in my concluding paragraph in blue, I am restating the main idea. The purple section is going over the main ideas of the previous body paragraphs, and finally in red, I have the concluding thought that I want the reader to walk away with. Well everyone, that is it for the lecture for this first lesson. I hope these little tricks that I have found helpful over the years are helpful to you as well. If you'd like to see the study guide, the example paper, an outline for an essay with 3 supporting main ideas, or even a virtual tutoring session, just go to my Patreon. If you enjoy the laid-back approach, or if you want another way of presenting information, let me know in the comments below. Best of luck and take care everyone.